As a die-hard Marvel fan who's been following the cinematic universe since its inception, I must say the creative team behind these movies never ceases to surprise and delight. They seat us with their choices. The Marvel Cinematic Universe consistently surprises fans by incorporating unique characters into their films, much to the joy of comic book enthusiasts. Managing the multitude of characters introduced by the MCU can be challenging, ranging from noble heroes to cunning villains and everything in between on the morality spectrum. Over the years, the franchise has not shied away from introducing some peculiar new actors across different movies, leaving many fans still in disbelief. Unlike the serious and realistic tone of films like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, the Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't hesitate to embrace the whimsical aspects often found in comic books. Occasionally, this can be surprising as the series introduces lesser-known characters from the comics, allowing viewers to become acquainted with some rather unusual superheroes. On other occasions, the MCU has shown courage by reintroducing beloved or previously sidelined versions of popular characters, such as Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. The list could be completely populated by the appearances of Deadpool and Wolverine, considering their numerous cameos. It's worth noting that one actor who seems almost too good to be true is Channing Tatum, portraying Gambit. His character, known for his flashy fight scenes, witty dialogue that often goes viral, and accurate costume, was a standout in the movie as the card-wielding Cajun mutant. Captain, including Gambit in the movie Deadpool and Wolverine, carries great significance for several reasons. Given that Channing Tatum persistently worked towards a solo Gambit film, yet the project got stalled due to production issues, it was heartening to see the MCU provide some resolution by allowing him to portray the character officially. For fans, it was emotionally satisfying to witness a more common true version of Gambit in live action, even if only partially. If there was one character that the MCU could easily be forgiven for never including, it's the cybernetic supervillain Modo, essentially a giant head on a floating chair with tiny vestigial limbs. Modok is one of those villains that seems impossible to adapt in live action, with his freakish proportions simply failing to translate to a genuinely believable design. Sadly, his introduction in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania seemed to prove this sentiment, making it all the more baffling that he was included in the first place. Instead of his traditional background, Model K in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is actually the result of Darren Cross's evolution, who was once the villain known as Yellow Jacket. After being deformed due to unstable shrinking and being sent to the quantum realm, he was discovered by Kang and transformed into a cybernetic enforcer, causing havoc across the entire dimension. But it's still surprising, Mata managed to appear in a live-action film, let alone one that also exposed his bare backside unnecessarily to viewers. In a surprising twist, even though the X-Men initially hail from a distinct timeline, they weren't the only Marvel characters drawn into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Before watching Spider-Man: No Way Home, fans speculated that both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire could make cameo appearances following their villains' transition from their individual films to the MCU. However, appearance in the film that very few predicted was none other than Tom Hardy's Venom from the Sony-produced movies. Following Doctor Strange's spell, individuals aware that Spider-Man is Peter Parker were transported into the main Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline. Tom Hardy, bewildered about his location, shares this sentiment with Venom. With no better options available, they decide to get inebriated at a tropical bar. Unfortunately, they are abruptly teleported back to their own dimension, leaving behind the symbiote fragment. Although Venom's appearance in the crossover film was anticipated, Tom Hardy's brief scene suggests that he could reappear in the MCU soon. 1975 is showered in its independent run The series She-Hulk Attorney at Law skillfully introduced an array of Marvel comic book characters, some reprising roles from previous MCU productions, fresh adaptations. Notably, the original antagonist Hawking left a lasting impression as one of the most insidious and detestable villains that Marvel Studios have ever devised. Initially appearing as a vague background character, Hulking is later unmasked as Todd Phelps, the creator of the misogynistic online forum Intelligentsia. It's quite surprising that the MCU was open to creating a completely new antagonist for She-Hulk, and this is especially true for Todd Phelps, who embodies ideas from the incel and black pill movements prevalent in today's digital culture. However, once he transforms into his Hulk form, the realism often associated with him as a villain becomes questionable, adding an even more unexpected twist to the series. Prior to Deadpool joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe with his witty banner, She-Hulk was the sole character who exhibited self-awareness within the franchise. In the series She-Hulk Attorney at Generator Law, this trait from the original comics was transformed into a humorous breaking of the fourth wall, similar to the asides in House of Cards. Occasionally, She-Hulk would address the camera and audience directly with these witty remarks.
However, it's not until this behavior escalates that Kiwi makes an appearance. The first expel in Tauk is an agenda.
Yearning to rewrite her narrative, She-Hulk boldly steps beyond the confines of her own show, venturing directly into the Disney Plus menu to confront those in charge of her series. In this story, Kevin Feige, portrayed as an artificial intelligence named KV, serves as the equivalent of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's president. It was a surprising twist for She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, to reveal such a powerful figure pulling the strings behind the scenes of the franchise, especially when that figure is modeled after Marvel Studios' real-world leadership, making She-Hulk's universe remarkably intertwined with our own. Maybe interesting. The film Eternals brought in numerous characters that seem highly unlikely to reappear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, yet are challenging to dismiss as part of the franchise lore. Among these characters, Pip the Troll, who had a brief appearance, stands out as the most unexpected and comical addition. In the comic books, Pip is depicted as a satyr-like extraterrestrial who initially assists Adam Warlock in his adventures across the Marvel Universe, using his powers of spontaneous teleportation. In a nutshell, Eternals introduces Pip as a CGI character brought to life by the voice of Patton Oswalt. Unlike Adam Warlock, Pip the Troll is instead the companion part of Star Fox, also known as Eros, portrayed by Harry Styles. Pip delivers an elaborate, attention-grabbing introduction showcasing their supposed past encounters. The sudden shift from Harry Styles in a Marvel movie to the appearance of this fanciful character might seem jarring and challenging to accept, making it hard for viewers to embrace the idea that the MCU now officially features such a whimsical creature. In contrast to the present dominance of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in pop culture, it's surprising to note that the first major movie based on a Marvel comic featuring one of the most obscure and unconventional characters was released way back in 1986. This film, titled Howard the Duck, was a box office failure, but significantly influenced future superhero filmmaking by demonstrating what not to do. Remarkably, the character who seemed to have sealed his cinematic fate as a waterfowl was later subtly reintroduced in the background of Guardians of the Galaxy by James Gunn. I can't help but feel incredibly fortunate to have been given more opportunities within the Marvel Cinematic Universe after my initial stint in Guardians of the Galaxy, and each subsequent project seemed to increase the amount of screen time dedicated to me, and it was truly unexpected, even in the epic battle against Thanos' forces in Avengers Endgame, wielded a submachine gun alongside my fellow heroes.
given my past cinematic struggles and unique nature as a character, it's fascinating that the MCU took such a bold step to incorporate me into their universe of superheroes.
Before his live-action debut in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Black Bolt only appeared on television in the poorly received series Inhumans, at a time when Marvel was experimenting with replacing the X-Men with the Inhumans. This series failed to captivate potential viewers. With Disney's acquisition of Fox Studios, the original purpose of the show was lost. Given the generally negative audience response to Black Bolt in previous appearances, it's surprising that he was included in the cast for the second solo film featuring Doctor Strange. That second solo 5A, Miles Doctor High Graded Energy, we have followed second solos. Black Bolt, the Inhuman leader, is less known among his famous Illuminati colleagues like Reed Richards, played by John Krasinski, or Professor X, portrayed by Patrick Stewart. He's not as flamboyant due to his inability to speak much because of his powerful voice that could cause destruction. It's quite surprising that the MCU chose to bring Black Bolt to life on screen again, even if it was only for a short time. One of the most highly anticipated episodes of What If Season 2 was the adaptation of Neil Gaiman's Marvel 1602, a comic series which reimagined the classic characters of the Sixth Universe in a Dark Age setting. Sadly, the episode deviated quite heavily from the original comic, but it at least introduced some unique characters like Happy Hogan's Freak. The comics, the normal version of Happy eventually turns into this purple monstrosity, similar to the Hulk in powers and execution. In contrast to the traditional Marvel Cinematic Universe, which didn't transform Jon Favreau's cherished character into a Hulk-like creature, the animated series What If had no qualms about doing so. The character known as Freak made an appearance and caused terror as a villain to the time-displaced Carter. One of the standout episodes of What If Season 2 was a 1602 episode, thanks in part to the surprising inclusion of Happy Hogan as Freak. And without a doubt, the television series She-Hulk Attorney at Law was known for its unpredictable characters, both new and old from the comics, and an unexpected turn of events during She-Hulk's encounter with the Abomination support group. Various B-list villains from comic book lore make an appearance, including Wrecker, whom she had previously battled. However, one individual catches everyone with attention amidst the motley crew of quirky supervillains, none other than Man-Bull. Originally a typical criminal, Man-Bull underwent an unusual lab experiment involving an experimental serum transforming him into a half-man, half-bull creature. And in the series She-Hulk Attorney at Law, he humorously explains his predicament as just some strange lab experiment, don't worry about it. This unexpected and challenging character is not typically depicted, add absurd elements to the show, and stands among the most implausible character appearances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.